So we have in the first reading a wonderful example of hospitality. So Abraham says, oh, rest. He has a servant wash their feet from the journey, and we'll get you a little food. Well, a little food becomes a major feast, but that was quite the culture of the time to be most hospitable to visitors, in this case, even strangers. Perhaps Abraham had some sense there were more to them than met the eye, but nonetheless. And so a lot of fuss, he and Sarah, and of course the servant who helped prepare the meal. And then the wonderful blessing that comes from such hospitality, the promise that Sarah, a year from that day, will have a child, her own child, Isaac, the son of promise. Abraham's about 100 years old and Sarah at 90. So it's going to be a marvelous work of God to be faithful to his promise. So we have another example of hospitality in the gospel. Wonderful Martha and Mary welcomed Jesus into their home. And just as Abraham served, as they were eating, he served them and took care of his guests, make sure they were comfortable. So we have Martha and Mary doing it, but somewhat differently. So Martha's busy with the necessary aspects of hospitality, preparing the meal, a rather important aspect of welcoming someone that you appreciate or love, as Martha and Mary did. Meanwhile, Mary is just at his feet, listening to Jesus. We know what happens. She gets upset about that, Martha, and Jesus gently, is chide the right word, gently says, Martha, you worry about many things. We all can relate to that term, can't we? Let me just read it again. You are anxious and worried about many things. So when I woke up to go to the bathroom earlier this morning, I was anxious and worried about many things. Not quite, but didn't quite fall asleep right away, because once you're back into the work environment, this to do, that to do. You've all been there. I've been there. So, but anyway, and so Jesus reminds her, at this particular moment, Martha, Mary's doing the right thing. But let's look at that. So we want to serve Jesus. We want to welcome Jesus into our lives, right? And so we can do that in two ways, both necessary. So we serve him by serving other people. All right, and all that form it takes. Now, for instance, those of you who have children, or if they've grown and gone away, when you had the children, they were very busy taking care of their needs, all the various needs they have, especially as they get to the teenagers' years or grade school, they start transporting them around here and there and everywhere. Very busy. You need almost a computer program to keep track of where they're supposed to be when and who's doing what. Okay. So that's wonderful in many ways, but you know what? You also just need some downtime with your children. Just some downtime. I went to daily mass at Ocean City, 8:30. Then they've added adoration from 9 to noon. So spend some time with the Lord after. And one of the days, I took a picture. There was a dad with two daughters, young girls, just being with they were at mass, but just with his daughters. Maybe they probably went out for breakfast after that. Just some downtime, not busy time, downtime. Just being together to show love, okay? Husbands and wives. If you're still actively raising family, it's a lot of work. You're very busy. But don't forget, you also, in your relationship, you're working on how you're going to balance all this, but then don't forget, you also need downtime with each other. You need time to serve others. You need time to be for each other. So Jesus was saying to Martha, I want the good meal, thank you, but also, and you're loving me by doing all this fussing, but Mary's also loving me by just being with me, just being with me. We need both. Okay, with the Lord, we need to be about what he asks us to be about, all the various responsibilities we have and doing those well, etc. Seeking a moral life, all that's very necessary to show we love him, okay? We also need time with him, just downtime. I'm calling it downtime, all right? It's called prayer. And again, we do have Thursdays, adoration now from 8 o'clock a.m. to 9, this way, I guess. Yeah, to 9 p.m. And that's 13 hours where you can just come anytime in that day. Could fit any schedule. Just drop in and say, hi, Lord. Spend some downtime with him. That also helps us do the other stuff a lot better. Second point, this is one of those multi-phase homilies. A letter to a suffering church. A bishop speaks on the sexual abuse crisis. Bishop Robert Barron. Okay. We'll be distributing these next weekend. That'll be, I have 600 of them. We'll be distributing them, one per household. And what he does is, it's right now we're not hearing too much about the sexual abuse crisis and the fallout, but it's not going to go away. And what he's doing here is, he's not holding he doesn't hold punches. He's very realistic about what's going on and some of the major flaws and problems that hopefully many have gone, but some are still persisting. That why we need to stay in the church. It's very well written. It's not very long. And it's worth reading. Okay? And so I know some parishioners have left because of the hurt, the pain, disappointment, the sense of betrayal, the failure of leadership, bishops, etc. Or perhaps have been touched in some way by a priest abusing possibly in themselves or loved ones. So we can appreciate that. And if you know that person or they're part of your family, give them one. Okay? As well as read it yourself. It's very well written. He speaks as a pastor. Okay. Many of us know him from the Word on Fire. We know him. He's very, very on social media, etc. He's very, very good. He's now the auxiliary bishop of Los Angeles. Okay. So it's worth our time. So take one next weekend. Okay. One per household. Or if you need another one for someone you really know thinks they need it, take two.